think we wanted to show both sides of the coin as well, that you can't have bravery without fear, that it comes from that. And seeing Lara battling against these things, constantly picking herself up and moving on, you can feel that how scared, how terrified she is, and she grows through that. And you, as the taking over player character, grow with her, which is just an amazing experience. And just to speak to what Karl was saying about Lara being more human, that's a story we're trying to tell as well. This isn't a story about being female. This is a story about being human and the vulnerabilities of being human and being in that situation. And it is about picking yourself up and doing the right thing, not just because you're not scared, but despite the fact that you're scared. And that was a big narrative thing that we wanted to push through in conjunction with all the gameplay, where she gets sort of beaten around, and she's obviously it's shown physically on her, and she's also mentally going through a horrific journey as well, probably worse on the inside than it is on the outside.
Right over here. So, Lara, Tomb Raider's always been known for being a platformer and kind of a puzzler. What I was really impressed in the demo is that you've added survival aspects to the gameplay, survival skills. I was just wondering, what was the origin of that? Is that just adding new gameplay features, or are you trying to use that as an aspect to enhance the storytelling?
I guess survival first started as a theme, like we talked about Lara's growth as a character, and survival really becomes the challenge that she has to overcome. But we also wanted to deliver that in a gameplay context, as well as her character growth. So if we look at the survival skills, really they're designed to deliver both aspects of the story in gameplay. So the idea that what do you expect to do in the wild? What skills would you have to use in order to survive? And we wanted that fantasy fulfillment to be there. But we also wanted the player to get more powerful with Lara. So as Lara's overcoming these challenges and becoming more confident, the players also has access to more mechanics, and they're feeling that growth also. So for me, it was important to deliver both of those themes in the context of gameplay.
I certainly think the most traumatic thing for me when I was playing the demo was actually killing the deer. I don't know if any of you have played the demo, but you have to shoot a deer. And I'm vegetarian, so it was very I was sort of basically doing it like this without looking at the screen. And if it had been a bouncing cabbage, I would have felt a lot better. But yeah, that was really traumatic.
Did a lot of you guys get the opportunity to play the game inside Nerd HQ this weekend? Isn't it friggin' awesome? It's so good.
This is our first time. This is our first hands-on demo, and it's the first time getting people and allowing people to play it. So I can tell you right now, there's a pretty nervous studio back up at Redwood City, because we do focus testing, we take it out, we show press, we all play it every single day. But to finally put it out in the wild, it's a little bit scary. So I'm glad you all like it. And to add to that, and the question is that to us, our goal is always about going on a journey. So taking this young girl from sort of hero to zero in a way where she starts zero to hero. Did I say hero to zero? We're going to take her backwards. We're going to go right back. The beginning of the game is as good as it gets. So the idea is to start her from zero to hero, in that bringing her onto the screen as a girl who, she has a lot of talents, and she has some experience from being in school and college and so on, but really she's never been on an expedition for the first time. And to take you on that journey, we want the player to feel like they're growing with her. So, like the challenges, for instance, in some of the demos that we've seen, the deer, obviously we have to eat. You know, if we were in that situation, she's forced to have to kill to eat. But really there, we're teaching the player about how to use the bow and arrow, about sort of the ease, the sticks, getting comfortable with it. And then in a scene which we've shown recently, she has to fend off some wolves. So now you're taking what you've learned from having to kill the deer and sort of a little bit of focus, and now taking it to the wolves, which is a little bit more intense. And then the next stage is to use that against some of these scavengers. So instead of just giving her the bow and arrow and saying, off you go, become this fighter, we want to take the player on that journey all the way through. And we've added in many layers, such as XP, for instance, where as you do challenges or you do some of these experiences, we give you XP. Some of them you'll get naturally because we want the player to scale up. So, for instance, you have to kill the deer. That's just part of the game. But if you go around and you kill the little bunny rabbit, for instance, which I've killed hundreds and hundreds of bunny rabbits, you get some XP for that. So you can actually start to scale your character up a little bit quicker But if you play the game from start to finish just with the sort of experience we've built up, we're going to take you on that journey of how Lara goes from being this young girl who's on the island for the first time, completely challenged, never had to do any of this. We want that to be immersive. We want people to feel like they're going on that journey with her. And if you want to take it that little step further and unlock some of those additional XP skills, you can do that by a little bit more grinding.
Hi. Look, I love the feel of the game. It looks great, but I've yet to play a Tomb Raider game. What I want to know is, can I just jump in at this point and learn with it, or do I have to know a bit more of the Tomb Raider lore?
No, I think that's one of the big things that we're doing with this, and we know it's the big thing we're doing this, is it's a day one story. It's an origin story. We're reimagining and rebooting the franchise so that it becomes sort of open for a broader audience. The Tomb Raider fans will love what Rhianna and what Noah have brought together with John, that you will get to a point in time in the game where you'll go, now I'm a part of this new Lara's journey. And for the fans, they'll go, this is the moment that she does such and such. And that becomes iconic. But we want to start bringing the game to a broader audience as well, so that they feel like this is their day one. Think Batman Begins. That's our great analogy. You probably hear us talk about it loads of times. When you watch Batman Begins, that really is the day one of this new Batman. And everybody who watched that movie felt like, now I understand how he became that character. We want players to have the exact same emotional feeling with Lara. Do you want to add to that, Noah?
Yeah, and I think then our goal is to take this Lara forward. So if you get on board now, I think it's a great time, and I think our hope is that we attract both fans back to the audience by delivering the things that they love about a Tomb Raider game, but also invite people like you to join the franchise and play. And this is a great time to start, and your investment will be paid off because we'll have more great adventures in the future with Lara 2.
I love that you've never played a Tomb Raider game and you're at the Tomb Raider panel. That's amazing. Job done. Who's next? You right there.
I was just wondering, like, with all the gear and stuff, is it harder to act? Like, how is that for you?
Is it harder to act with the motion capture?
Yeah, with all your gear
With all
and
the
everything
stuff
you're
on
wearing.
it? Yes and no. The first thing that I felt was hard to get used to was that I had a helmet on my head with a camera attached to it that's inches from your face. So you're having to act these really intimate scenes with characters, and you're almost like going cross-eyed at points, trying not to look at the camera. That's something that was difficult. But after a while, you get used to it, and you feel very free. And one thing that really helped is we have a big flat screen like this up in the volume, which you saw on the final hours. And once I get synced into Lara, she appears on a flat screen and she moves when I move. So when they say this is a fire and these are rocks, I can watch the flat screen and go explore and walk around, and I can see the game level. So as an actor, that's pretty incredible because I get to actually see my surroundings, the environment I'm in, and it makes it very real for me. And actually not having to concentrate on cheating out towards a camera lens is great. It's very freeing, and that's why I said before it kind of almost reminds me of stage a little bit. It feels very free, and after a while you get used to it. You're welcome.
Let's just go right here, and then we'll go right back to you. Right here.
Okay. What was your inspiration for doing a video game?
What was my inspiration? Well, Lara Croft is iconic, so to be asked to portray her was not something that I wanted to turn down. And I'm a fan of, really strong women. I'm a huge Aliens fan, and so I, always wanted to be Ripley. And this is almost my chance, too, to be Ripley-esque. And I did play video games when I was a kid. We had a Sega Mega Drive, and I played Mortal Kombat, and I played... I played everything from Sonic to Moonwalker was a game that was cool when I was a kid. It's not like I haven't enjoyed video games. So to be part of one and almost be immortalized in some strange way, so maybe my kids can play me and kill me over and over when they're mad at me, I think will be really fun.
And then right back there.
Hi, my name is Vince. It's really exciting to be here. Although I have to say, aside from the little demo, I haven't played any Tomb Raider games either.
That's okay. There's another gentleman right over here, so you guys can hang out afterwards.
You guys should hang out.
You can compare notes on what you don't know.
Okay. And I had to ask, is there any parts of the storyline or any of the enemies or game dynamics that you're really excited about, or that are new or innovative?
I've actually spent a lot of time with the enemies in the game. We have some. I think our antagonists are really interesting. I don't want to talk too much about them now, so just barely revealed them. But Lara's relationship with them brings in some really cool gameplay and mechanics later in the game. So I think you'll find some really interesting bad guys in our game. They're not conventional. And I think the story of the island, and we spent a lot of time crafting a pretty interesting story. It's puts Lara in some really interesting situations. So I don't want to give too much away, but no, I don't know if I'm going to talk more about it.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up the island. That's such an important piece because we talked a little bit about bringing Lara to life, and that really was job one. But to really immerse the player in the experience, they have to believe in Lara, but they also have to believe in the world and the adventure they're going on. And one of the things that John does up at Crystal Dynamics is make sure that world is really, it comes to life and it's consistent. And like you said, the enemies are an exciting piece that we're going to share a little bit more about down the road. But it really is about the island as a character too, and bringing it to life and immersing the players in a world and an adventure that they can believe in and lose themselves in, really. I mean, for me, when I enjoy games most when everything around me sort of melts away. I turn down the lights, turn up the volume, and I'm in that world. And I think the team has done a great job bringing that whole island to life.
And in terms of just add to that, some of the features that we've been talking about really sort of for the last 18 months as we've been on the road presenting this, is that we don't want to forget who we are. Tomb Raider's been around for 16 years now, and it's been very successful in that time. And we have a formula. We have something that's worked very well, which used to be puzzle solving, exploration, and combat. And one of our goals with this game was, from the early days, was not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We wanted to reimagine the game, but we didn't want to forget our origins and who we are. So some of the features that we've kept, we've just enhanced, and we've made massive changes to how they work for us. So as an example, dynamic traversal used to be just exploration for us, and as anybody who's played Tomb Raiders know, it's very ledge to ledge, very binary. If you fall, you go all the way back down. To us, Lara's an explorer. She should have the freedom to explore. And we knew in the very early days that we're not building an open world game, despite it being on this island. What we want to do is build these hub systems that allow the player to be able to explore with freedom. So dynamic traversal to us was something that, as one of the coolest features I see, gives Lara the freedom to be able to move around with ease. So she can jump from building to building. If you fail on something, you just get straight back up and find a different path. It really brings the character to life in a very unique and different way. And then the other one which we've done is Smart Resourceful Lara, which is another one where it used to be puzzles, pulling a lever, moving rocks. Anybody who's seen some of the demonstrations we've shown over the last year will see that these scavengers have been living on this island for so long. They've manipulated spaces and they've turned areas into mechanisms that work for them. And the first puzzle that we sort of thrust Lara into is where these guys have been collecting all this flotsam and jetsam coming in, and they've been using it to sort of salvage and scavenge. And Lara comes into this area for the first time, and we've just taught the player about fire, about how to cause explosions, and about how to sort of manipulate with physics and water. And we give her the challenge of saying, now you sort it out as a player. You look at how this scavenger has used this space for something else, and you come in and test it. You kind of jump around, you realize that stuff moves, you realize that if you set fire to the boxes, the waterfall puts it out. So to us, that's a whole new feature and a whole new dynamic that instead of coming into a space and looking at it and trying to figure out, do I line up all these things for the sun, and do I pull this lever? Now it's about, let's look at the island as if it's living and breathing. These scavengers have been here for a long time, and they've created some phenomenal puzzles for us to be able to allow the player to get smart with. So they're just two of them. The third one's combat, which I'm not going to talk about at all just yet, so anybody knows.
Was there ever a thought to make this an open world Tomb Raider? I mean, or have you guys, is that something that might happen in the future?
In the early stages, yes, because when we placed it on an island, it was something that we thought would be great. And then it gets very hard because you want to tell that story from start to finish. You want to bring the player on that journey. Anybody who plays open world games knows that giving those amount of choices dilutes that experience. And Noah's crafted and Rhianna's crafted a story where it's very intimate. It's very close to the character. We want to make sure that we bring you through these experiences and these journeys. And even after that then, to make sure that we communicate it properly, in some of the early days, we had Lara on a horse. And we had this horse that was going to allow her to move around these spaces. And even though we weren't open world, the horse implied open world. Because you thought, how big can the island be? So we ended up dropping the horse and keeping Lara as is. So to answer to that, yeah, we looked at it early on.
Nice to have a horse.
Yeah, no, there's no horse. The poor horse is gone.
Did you also give her an ocarina of time?
No.
I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah. But we did go through some interesting experiences. No, you talked to the fact that at one stage we had a girl companion, and we thought that that was a real way to bring a personality and a side to Lara. And then we realized that it really was just all about Lara. It needed to be her experience and not sort of taken away to be looking at or somebody else or thinking about another situation. It was the intimacy of who she is. And that was very important to us.
Who's got the next question? Right there. Who's got the mic? That's the power. Right there, yes, you.
That's the power. Okay, so I have a multi-part question. So my background is more of a magazine writer, so I was curious about the process of how you crafted the story for like a video game. And so the second is, will this be like a jump-off point for like a movie franchise for like Tomb Raider, and will Camilla be playing it? That's it.
Rhianna, you want to take the writer one?
Well, I guess it's sort of... I've been on the project for 2 years, so when I came on board there was a fair bit of story in place, and then it was sort of shaped with myself, Noah, and then John, over the course of the project, continually sort of shaping and tweaking, and then the script sort of evolved out of that in multiple iterations. I've got to work on it on the plane back. It's still very much the final hours, and it's still... game development is very iterative, so it's not a case of just one draft, two draft, three draft, and you're done. You're always tweaking because it's got to fold in with level design, and level design can change and gameplay can change. You might lose a bit here or gain a bit there, and the story's got to be able to be flexible. And so that's one of the big challenges of games writing, is how to dovetail narrative and gameplay and level design together, so it all feels like one cohesive thing, rather than there's the gameplay and there's the story on top. So it's constantly evolved during the project. We've had to take on a lot of testing feedback and tweak the story and shape it, and it's being flexible that's probably the most important, and it's not done until it's done. You're constantly prodding and poking and shaping it around the gameplay.
And to answer your question about the franchise, fresh entry point, this is the day one in every sense. We announced probably 18 months ago we're working with GK Films to reimagine the movie as well. So they're basically looking at taking the exact same plot story and bringing it to life. We have Hawk Otsby and Mark Fergus, you may remember, for writers from Iron Man and from Children of Men. We're currently working on the script, and we're looking at 2013. For the release of it. And then on top of that, every single thing that you would have seen from Tomb Raider of yesteryear, we've basically, when I took over managing the franchise, I remember having this whole list of all these licensing extensions and all these places that you can see Lara. And in reimagining it, it's not just the game, it's not just the movie, it's everything you see. There's adventure parks in Italy who still have the old Lara Croft that we now need to look at how we bring it to life in the new Lara. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. So it takes a lot of time, and that's why there hasn't been a game for us, we were just talking about it earlier, since 2008. We've done Guardian of Light, which is our digital project, but a full Tomb Raider game, we haven't done anything since 2008, which is a long time. That's nearly 5 years by the time the game comes out. But reimagining a franchise takes time. You can't just sort of finish a game 1 year and then the next year go, we're back, now she's young, now she's fresh. Because you kind of go, well, I just played your game last year and now you're confusing me. So we took the time to look at the game, look at the movie, and also all the other touch points around the world and all the ways in which people can engage with Lara and the Tomb Raider franchise.
As far as the movie is concerned, are you guys open to the idea, of casting Lara as a 30-ish man, about 6'4", that talks with his hands like an Italian? Are you open to that?
I would say you'd have to wrestle Camilla for that.
Only if they bring back the shorts.
We do have other roles. I think we got Alex, and you can play like a mid-60s guy called Roth.
Done.
Can you do that? Yorkshire accent? Perfect.
Who's next? Yes. Oh, what? You still don't have a microphone. You need to get a microphone in your hand. You, sir. Yes, back there.
I've played Tomb Raider since '96, since the beginning. I played all of them. And
you too. Go talk to this guy afterwards.
Yeah.
You'll learn a lot.
And I just want to say thank you for giving us this version of Lara. The last time we saw her even remotely inexperienced was in Tomb Raider 4. And so I wanted to ask you guys, as a lifelong fan, are the fans who have been with the franchise from the beginning going to see any nods to the universe that came before in this new version? Or is it just completely wiped out? Are there going to be any kind of little Easter eggs for us or anything along the way?
So I will say, as rightly so, there's many iconic moments, there's many iconic things about Lara, and we want to make sure that we embody that in the game. One of the biggest questions I get from fans are questions that I almost feel like saying, do you really want me to tell you? Like, do you really want me to spoil it for you because you'll hate me? What we're trying to achieve in the game is that all of those things that you remember from past Tomb Raiders, it's not that we pay homage to them, it's that we use them as a way to bring our game to life and to bring you that experience and say, for the first time I experienced how she found a tomb. Like, we've obviously played the game so many times, we know, and we're excited to bring you the first time she encounters a tomb. Because this is now her addiction. She realizes that I want to do this. She's not a Tomb Raider right now. She's just a young Lara Croft who's on her first adventure and it goes horribly wrong. And to that effect, there's many, many things that we want to make sure we bring through the game that when you finish playing it, you put the control down, you go, that's a Tomb Raider for me. And as the fans will go, now I know. Now I have the grounding of how she's done certain things. And that's very important to us because when Tomb Raider 1 came on the scene, she had everything. She just began as this character. So we want to bring those emotions to life, those things that you'll remember for the next couple of games and onwards.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the most exciting things about working with a franchise like this is that people have the memory of who she is and the world she lived in and the adventures she went on. So our goal certainly isn't to tick all of those off one by one. You've already been through all of that. But it is exciting to see the things that are inspired by the Tomb Raiders that came before. So for me, that really is a part of being true to the franchise, not in a one-for-one literal way, but to really take a lot of our inspiration from what has come before.
Yes, you have a mic.
It's a mic now.
Give her a round of applause.
First of all, thank you for being here because I flew all the way from Singapore to come to Nerd HQ, and
Welcome.
this is so great for me. My question is, during the video and the game, was there anything that you found particularly challenging to research for? Either the storyline or the aerodynamics or the physics of doing all the actions?
Noah, story? How do we choose this place, this location, the Dragon's Triangle?
Yeah, I mean, probably the story is where I spent the most time doing research. Just like I said, trying to bring a world to life, give it authenticity. Some of that is in just what is the inspiration for our story, what is the backstory of this island, what are the mysteries on this island that the player is going to unravel. And for us, we wanted that to be grounded in things that really existed. That was important to me. But also even looking at survival situations and a lot of times with research, that we do take some creative liberties, but we start with an inspiration of really what it is like to survive. We need to turn that into a game somehow and make that probably funner than it is to really survive on an island like this. But it starts with understanding what it's really like. So for me, those were probably the two biggest things, which is kind of the inspirations for the storyline and the concept of real human survival experiences.
And we did a ton of research. I remember the first time we presented the concept to our executives around the world, and we were trying to bring survival and emotion to life. And we found this, if anybody hasn't watched this, I would say go and watch it, is Aaron Ralston, who you know from the movie 127 Hours, where he got caught and ends up having to cut his own arm off. There's an interview he did with, I think it was Tom Brokaw, who went back to the scene And this was our inspiration in some of how we even communicate it internally. He went back to the scene where he had to amputate his own arm. And when you watch this scene play out for the first minute or two, he's just talking about, the situation he was in, and it was hot and so on. And then he gets to talking about how he had to do this thing where he had this rusty knife, and he was plucking away at veins and arteries, and eventually to break his arm off. And there was a moment in that video where the first time I saw it, the first time the team saw it, it almost brings a tear to your eye. You're always a scene where he realizes he had to do something, and he steps back and takes a breath of air, and he's like shocked himself that he had to do it. And that for us, outside of the story, bringing those emotions and those sort of moments with the hair on the back of your neck was very important to us, and we took inspiration from so many places. And I'd ask anybody, if you've never seen that, go to YouTube, just bring it up and Google it and watch the scene through. It is probably one of the most powerful scenes of somebody going through a real life reenacting of what they've had to go through, and that was very important to us. That throughout the game we tried to bring little moments to life that you felt, holy shit, that could happen, or I'm feeling something that I've never felt before.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to talk about Lara's reaction was a big driving force for us as well. You saw the scene where she shoots, kills a guy for the first time. And we really wanted that to be a big thing for her, because in all other entertainment mediums, action equals character. So we get to learn about a character, about their moral compass, about their flaws, by the actions they perform. But in video games, you often get the case where, in the story segments, a character might be kind of quippy or sassy. They'll have all the answers. They'll be kind of somewhat of an anti-hero. They'll have like I said, the answer for everything. Teflon-like, and they'll just go through the whole gameplay and perform mass genocide level after level, and it will never feed back into their character. And that was one of the main things we wanted to look at, was how Lara's actions affect her character and her emotional state. And so the first kill for us was a big thing. And it was funny, when we originally tested the scene, the playtesters were saying, why is she reacting to this first kill? It's, they were quite sort of surprised by it. We were like, well, because it's her first kill, because she's taking a human life. No matter what the circumstances are, that is a big thing, and it should be a big thing, and we wanted to show that. So, it was traumatic for you doing it, and, watching it as well. It was, you really feel it, because you should, and we wanted to bring back that emotion. It's not comfortable to watch, and it shouldn't be, and it's not comfortable to be part of. But we wanted to bring that back to kind of tie it into her character. And again, the deer before, she's quite traumatized by that, let alone taking a human life. So that was an important character evolution for her, and we wanted to keep harking back to that. And as I said, she goes on a very dramatic internal emotional journey as well as her external one.
I think for me as an actress also, it'd be really hard to connect to something and make it real, where I had shot someone and I had his blood on my face and I was thinking, okay, so where are we grabbing tea? It just wouldn't ring true to me. I think that would be, as you said, really traumatic. And so it was important to make that real, and it certainly felt that way when we were filming it too.
I was totally unfazed the first time I took a human's life. It was about the 10th when I finally realized, what am I doing? This is probably a bad idea. How much time do we have, by the way? I have nobody telling me. I'm just going to keep going. Who's got a mic now? You got the power.
The power, if it works. I'm not a gamer, but I really want to be. And so I was wondering what games got you started into gaming, and any recommendations you might have.
You came to the right place.
Thank you. Thought so.
You guys want to start? I could talk about this for 3 days. So
yeah, I have a story that this wasn't the very first game, but it was certainly the game that got me addicted. And my mom is gonna probably kill me. I've never actually told her this. So I wanted the Commodore 64. So I had the Atari 2600. I'd gone through all these cool games that brought me into it, but I had said to my mom, I want a Commodore 64. I want to play Formula 1 racing. And I think it was around September, October, I noticed my parents bringing a extremely large package, which, if anybody remembers the Commodore 64, it was a monster. And she brought it in and hid it away. And when the babysitter was looking after us one night, I decided to break it open. And I found it hidden in the closet. And I took it downstairs and I started playing it. And I continued to do that for week after week after week, every time I was a babysitter. And on Christmas morning, she's really going to kill me for saying this. Christmas morning, she literally came down, wrapped up, and I had to make it look like I was shocked. I was so surprised. I was like, oh my God, Mom, you're the best ever. And then she plugged it in and turned it all on, and I had forgotten to wipe some of my saves. Big adult ass. So it was one of those moments where, to me, that, you know, it brought something inside of me to say, this is it, I'm addicted to this, and I'm going to continue doing it forever today. And that's one story my Mom's going to kill me for now. Sorry, Mom. Noah, you?
Yeah, actually, I would almost answer both questions with the same answer, which is one of the games I remember really early playing was the original Legend of Zelda. And I think, and you mentioned the Ocarina earlier, which is probably one of the greatest games ever made. So I would recommend maybe starting with a Zelda game.
Starting with original Zelda? Or Ocarina?
A Zelda game, like Ocarina maybe.
So the gateway drug for my wife was Diablo, so I would highly recommend that one. So she was not a gamer. We started playing that together. I think games where you can play with someone is probably the thing that's going to get you into it the most, because if it's a social thing, then you'll really have a good time, and then you'll start seeing that there's tons of games that you can play with other people. So.
Yeah, Diablo was a big game for me as well. I started gaming when I was about 6. And I used to get my father's hand-me-down machines, and then he'd play a game, and then give it to me, and then I'd play a game. Or he'd play a game, and I'd draw the maps, because this was a long time before we had maps in games, and so you actually had to get out the graph paper. He'd be playing, and I'd be drawing all corridors. And then, you know, we turned it into a social experience. And then I just sort of was a big PC gamer, big nerd strategy gamer as well. Diablo, again, was the same great game for me, and that's a very easy game to get into. And when I was at university, I nearly lost a boyfriend because of my excessive Diablo playing. And in retrospect, I should have actually gone with Diablo and dumped the boyfriend. But you live and learn. World of Warcraft is also another. If you're feeling very brave, is a good,
Clear
very
calendar.
easy to get into. Online multiplayer game, lots of fun, very accessible, huge world to explore.
If you want your life to completely disappear.
Yeah, that's true.
Camilla?
Well, I do, this is like completely self-promoting Tomb Raider, but I have to say that I'm not especially skilled playing video games, even though I would love to be and I hope to be. But actually playing this Tomb Raider game, I feel like, I don't know if you've been able to play it yet. It is, yeah. And I feel like anyone can kind of pick it up and suddenly feel kind of epic playing it. So I would recommend Tomb Raider.
That is the best answer of all of us. Tomb Raider is the best game to get
Probably
the entry
our
in.
game.
How did we forget that? All of us. What did we... I'm gonna have to wrap it up. So I've been told to be given the wrap up. So this is gonna be the last question. I'm so sorry, but I'm gonna try. Oh no, I'm gonna answer. I mean, this was the last question. I'm gonna stop talking. Actually, I'm not gonna stop talking because I did want to touch upon this. I'll try and make it as short of an answer as possible. And the police are after me.
It's that kill you did that you didn't care about.
What I would say, I'll take it a different route. So I've been playing video games since I came out of the womb, which is really gross if you think about it. But you know, video games have come such a long way, and the reason why I've loved them so much is because they really are these worlds that you get to jump into, and it's like you're not just going to a movie, you're in the movie. Not reading a book, you're in the book. And even with, you know, Mario getting to the first castle, you know, I remember being a kid and I was so stoked. And then I was so pissed at Toad when he told me the princess was somewhere else. I was so pissed. It's like, yes! But it's really amazing. Just on a technology side, it's amazing how far video games have come. So if you're just starting to get into gaming, a lot of my friends that I try to get into gaming, you know, as soon as we got dual analog sticks, which are those two little, you know, joysticks that you got on controllers, as a hardcore gamer, you're my best friend.
As a new gamer, you hate them. You're looking up here, your gun is everywhere, you don't know what you're doing, you're getting motion sickness, it's crazy, right? So one of the things I always recommend to people when they're jumping into gaming is, and actually, you know what, an Xbox, if you go on Xbox Live, there's a Xbox Live Arcade, and there's so many great games that you can download that are side scrollers, or like old school stuff, and you can really kind of get you into games a little bit. You can use the directional pad, you can use the buttons, and it really lets you get into that, and then slowly start getting into analog, the dual analog sticks, and then you can really start cutting your teeth on that. So that would be my advice to you. And yes, definitely buy Tomb Raider. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for our Tomb Raider panel. And guys, so we're just going to stand here. We'll let you guys take some pictures really quick, awkwardly as we stand. And then, if you don't mind, just stay seated. These guys are going to get seated for your signing. And then in an orderly fashion, all of our lovely volunteers will line you up. So guys, would you mind taking a picture with me?